Today's Thursday, May 27th, 2021. Time is 9:01 a.m. This is our weekly community development meeting. Attending our commissioners Duncan, Brooks, and Filios. And I'm going to ask Pat, would you please, Pat, lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, then. For my opening comments, I don't have any, but do we have any potential conflicts of interest?
It's not a conflict, but I was contacted by residents on the Stanley Pope issue. This was before the hearing examiner, and I instructed them to make comments to the hearing examiner, but none of the conversation that I had is going to affect my decision today.
Okay, fair enough. All right, any changes to the agenda? Hearing none, let's move on. Deliberations, first one, and it is an action item, case number VAR for variance 20-0012, request by Benjamin Miller for a 10-foot variance to the 25-foot front yard setback requirement from a public road on an approximately 0.34 acre parcel of land in the agricultural suburban zone. Ben, take it away, please.
Good morning.
Zach, forgive me.
Good morning, Planner Zach Trevino for the record. Presenting the request for a variance as Commissioner Filios just described. The parcel is approximately 15,000 square feet. It is located just east of the city of Coeur d'Alene in the Coeur d'Alene area of city impact. And it has a residence on it constructed in 1970. And the request involves a desired addition to the front of the house as depicted here on the site plan,
Okay.
to accommodate additional garage space, home office, and sanitary facilities. The need for a variance is related to the Harrison Avenue right-of-way. There is no defined right-of-way width. It is prescriptive. Eastside Highway District confirmed this. And so the setbacks are measured from a line 25 feet from the center line. And that's where you start measuring the setbacks. And in this case, they would like to be 15 feet away from that line instead of 25. Therefore, the 10-foot variance request. The applicant cites as undue hardship limited area in the front of the house on the north side of the parcel, the inability to get vehicular access to the rear of the parcel through the side yards, as well as the fact that the adjacent residences have garages of similar nature. Now, just the floor plan, this is what the interior would look like. The main purpose of this is just to give some additional usable space, especially to facilitate things like working from home. The access would stay the same. The orientation of the garage would change. Right now, the garage is parallel to Harrison Avenue. This would cause it to be perpendicular, but the driveway is such that it could accommodate this change without requiring any effect to Harrison Avenue. We did run this by agencies. There were no major objections. The one thing that Avista Utilities noted is a required 10-foot setback from the power lines. The applicant is planning to be 13 feet from the power lines, and one of the conditions of approval that is being recommended speaks to that requirement. Additionally, at time of building permit, if this were granted, they would of course have to do any necessary site disturbance permits. If they may be exempt, it's a very flat site, but also get the proper building permits. And then with public comment, we did receive one comment in opposition. It didn't explain the reasoning for that position. But worth noting, this is a very similar structure to what already exists on the east and the west of the parcel. And actually, if I just go to that real quick, I think it might be helpful. This is an aerial overview of the neighborhood right now. The other structures did not require a variance at the time they were built. This is a non-conforming parcel that is less than the current minimum lot size. But as it is today, it does require this variance in order to enable the desired structure. And so the hearing examiner did agree that undue hardship is present, believe that it would not negatively impact the neighborhood, and also agrees that it is the minimum necessary variance to make the use possible. Staff feels the request is appropriate, and so I'll leave it there, but I can certainly go into greater detail or answer questions if you have them.
Any questions for Zach? Bill? I have one. How long have the applicants owned the property?
They actually, I don't know that. I do know that it was built in 1970. They haven't owned it for that long, but I'm not sure when they actually purchased the property. It hasn't, to my knowledge, it wasn't just a recent purchase with the plans to do this. I believe it was purchased some time ago, and now they're planning on expanding it, but I can't give you the year.
Okay, that's fine. I have no further questions. Okay, since we're in deliberations, motion.
Well, do we want to talk about it? I'm fine with it because it matches what's existing on the east and the west of the property. I don't see that this is going to cause a problem for anything.
Pat, did you want to say something?
Oh, I'd just say, yeah, I mean, since we're in deliberations, we don't need a motion to deliberate.
Yeah. No, I was asking for a motion to decide. Okay. Any thoughts?
Well, if it didn't have properties on both sides that were similar, I might have a problem with it. But since it does already, I don't have a problem with it.
Okay. I have nothing further to add. Motion?
I move that we approve case number VAR 20-0012, a request by Benjamin Miller for a 10-foot variance to the 25-foot front yard setback.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Duncan.
Aye.
Sean Philios.
Aye, and the motion is carried, so case number VAR 20-0012 is approved. Thank you, Zach. Next. Okay, so our next item is case number CUP for conditional use permit 21-0001, Stanley Pope to remedy an active code violation and to establish an automobile wrecking yard and junkyard on a 7-acre portion of a 20.86-acre parcel of land in the rural zone. Go right ahead, Vlad.
Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, Vlad Finkel with Kootenai County Community Development. As you just stated, Chairman Philios, this is a request for a conditional use permit to establish a new wrecking yard, junkyard facility, and to also remedy an existing code violation. The subject parcel of land is located north of the Garwood intersection with Highway 95 and east of Pope Road. The current zoning designation is rural, and the code does allow for this type of use to be established through the conditional use permit process in the rural zone. As you can see, there are a number of various zoning designations in this area, stemming from light industrial, commercial, light industrial with a zoning development agreement. And this area has been rapidly changing over the course of last decade. We have experienced a lot of requests for rezones or establishment of more intense uses than just a standard residential use along Highway 95. So this has been a change through the course of last decade or so. The comp plan designation in this case is suburban. Based on the guidelines of this designation, it does allow for residential, mixed use, and commercial operations in this type of comp plan classification. A portion of the subject property is located over the aquifer. The applicant does propose to develop their use within the southwest corner of their property, which will approximately take up 7 acres. They currently have a residence and some outbuildings on their site. However, they do not wish to utilize any of the buildings, with the exception of a small storage building, to dismantle and store any of the hazardous materials that may be on site, including fluids, oil, gas, antifreeze, and so forth. As you can see on the site plan presented by the applicant and also the photos that I'll present in my presentation, there is a berm along the western property line and along the southern property line of the subject parcel, along with some of the existing vegetation along the southern property line and eastern property line. What the code requires is that any portion of the property that may be visible from the adjacent right-of-way or adjoining parcels must be screened in a manner where it's not considered to be a nuisance or a blight to the adjoining parcels or right-of-way. And so the existing berms, as you can see on these photos, are fairly tall. I think they're close to 20 feet in height and over 60 feet in width. And they're not, they completely obscure the location of where this area within the property will be used to store and dismantle vehicles. The applicant does propose, based on the site plan, to construct a fence and either have a 100% site obscuring fence or a vegetation along the fence line from along the northern and eastern area of the 7-acre parcel or 7-acre area to screen it from the adjoining neighbors to the east.
Okay.
Through the agency comment period, we solicited comments from a variety of agencies with jurisdiction. I personally have contacted DEQ and Panhandle Health District on 2 different occasions to address some of my concerns. As you can imagine, this is a pretty rare request. We don't get that many requests for junkyard facilities because a majority of those that we have been in existence for quite some time. Garwood Wrecking Facility that is directly to the south, and also Pegasus Wrecking Yard that has recently closed and had sold off their material to the Popes, who are looking to reestablish the same use just to the north of Garwood Wrecking Yard on their parcel, have been in existence for close to 30 plus years. And so my initial thought was that because this portion of the property, which will be utilized for storing and dismantling of vehicles, could present an environmental impact or an issue in the future if there are any spills. I did have a discussion with DQ as well as PhD, and PhD advised me that the applicant would have to apply for an industrial commercial permit. The PhD official will have to come out, assess the existing conditions on site, determine the intensity of what the applicant is proposing, the number of vehicles, exactly what they intend to do on site. And then based on that assessment, issue some requirements that they would have to comply with, whether it's some sort of secondary containment areas and so forth. The applicant does not wish to have any public enter the site. They will be hauling all vehicles to the property themselves. So there's no current need for sanitary facilities, and there's no need for domestic supply for this application as well.
Can we shift that over just a bit? Oh, I see. It's
what
the
is-
whole thing. That's fine. Okay.
I don't know why it's different on this one. Did you notice that on the last presentation?
No.
The applicant currently has 2 accesses off of Pope Road. One of them will be utilized. The northern one will be utilized for the existing residents. The southern one will be utilized for the proposed use. The highway district official had no concerns, neither did the fire department. One of the latest concerns that we did receive through the public comment period was from the Garwood Co-op. It's interesting that the information that was presented by the official, as well as stated on record during the hearing examiner's hearing, was that according to their information, the flow of the aquifer is from the northeast due southwest, and that the proposal to store vehicles northeast of the existing well site that is directly adjacent to the Garwood recycling facility and I could show you. The
Yeah.
well site is located just south of the subject property, southwest. And so the Garwood representative had raised some concerns in the public hearing, as well as in writing during the public comment period, that they are concerned that there is a potential for this facility to contaminate their wells. Now, it has also been stated on the record that Garwood Wrecking Yard facility has vehicles stored just south of the property lines of the Pope's property that are also northeast of the wellhead, or there's two wells on the water district site. And that somehow this proposal would have a greater impact than the Garwood facility. We don't have any scientific data from either the Garwood representative or any other local or state agencies that would either prove or dispute the claims made by the water district that the flow of the aquifer is due southwest from the northeast. This is not, the aquifer is not a river as far as I understand. It's an underground lake. So I don't have the specifics. I'm not a qualified professional to either dispute it or confirm that that's the case. The hearing examiner heard this, and based on what I read as well as you, they sided with staff's position that PhD as well as DEQ are the local and state agencies that have the jurisdiction and have the ability to make the call down the road. Staff does understand the concerns, but if we were to make recommendations on a potential future issue, environmental impact, it would be hard for us to make any recommendations at all. We have to assume and go on the facts that are currently present before us. And for that reason, we are pleased that the hearing examiner sided with staff's position. So during the public comment period, we received an overwhelming amount of support on this request. However, at the public hearing, a majority of people that did show up physically to provide testimony were in opposition. Staff believes that this facility is consistent and equal to what is currently going on in the area, especially with the two separate wrecking yard facilities that have functioned over the course of the last 3 decades south of this site. The proposal is also supported by the comp plan designation of suburban. And the hearing examiner heard this request on May 6th and subsequently sided with staff's position to recommend approval of this request. I stand for any questions that you have at this time.
I have a couple.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you go back to the zoning map?
Absolutely.
Either one, I guess, is. Okay, so can you, first of all, what are the black lines, the big, thick black lines? Are those anything?
You know, this has been an issue that I have seen. It's something that has to do with the PDF file.
So that's fine. So can you show me where the Garwood well is?
Absolutely. I'm just trying to find where the mouse is. Okay, so
Sure.
So the wellhead site is,
Even if
Just a
yeah,
minute.
is there a pointer? You don't, do we have one here? I think we got
Okay.
it upstairs.
Okay, so that's the,
Bill's got one, I think.
If you need it.
okay,
this is the wellhead site.
okay, oops,
Well, be careful.
yeah. Okay,
I'd like to also clarify that this wellhead site was deeded to the water district by the Garwood Wrecking facility when it was already in existence. And this was done, I believe, in 1986 or 1987. So the first wellhead went in 86 or 87, and the second one went in, I believe, in 93 or 94.
Okay.
Do you want to point it out one more time? Because I got
Absolutely.
preoccupied trying, yeah. The location.
Here.
Careful, don't have an accident. Is it working, Bill?
Yeah, working just fine.
Use this, there you go.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll work great, everyone can see it. That's what I figured.
That itty bitty little
Yeah,
circle.
oh, yeah, that little slab.
Okay.
Okay. So keep going.
As far as I understand, commissioners, the hearing examiner specifically asked, or it was stated on record that in the course of last 3 decades, or 3.5 decades, they have not had any evidence that the wellhead or the 2 wells on site were somehow contaminated by the existing Garwood facility. Their argument is that that facility is due east, but the proposal is northeast. As I stated before, we have no evidence from the applicant as well as from any local or state agencies to support that the flow of the aquifer is from the northeast to the southwest, and that's been the main concern.
So what you're saying is both facilities do not actually sit over the aquifer?
They both sit over the aquifer.
The actual storage location sits physically over the aquifer?
Yes.
Because I thought you indicated earlier.
there.
Okay, go ahead.
So, just to clarify, commissioners, the Garwood facility, as well as the former Garwood facility, or
Pegasus.
Pegasus facility, are fully
fully
within
within,
the aquifer area.
Okay.
However, the Pope's property is partially within
Right,
the,
okay.
it's on the fringe of the Rathdrum Prairie aquifer. The area that the applicant is proposing to utilize, the southwest 7 acres,
Yes?
is over the aquifer.
It is over the aquifer.
So it's a similar, similar geographical issue in terms of being over the aquifer for all 3 properties. Pegasus, I believe, was here. Now you got Garwood Wrecking Yard. I think you got Pull and Save here, and then you got some sort of other industrial use in this location.
So DEQ and Panhandle Health don't have an issue?
They do not. DEQ, the only major concern or what they brought up was the fact that they can't burn on site, tires or any other material. PhD will be the agency that will oversee any potential storage of or any storage of hazardous fluid or potential for contamination of the aquifer. And I spoke twice with PhD, and they advised me that they make that assessment when they go out to the site and discuss the intensity of use with the applicant and where the storage will be located and exactly how the facility will be operated.
I think it's also my understanding that a lot of the vehicles arrive with no fluids anyway, because they're set for demolition, I guess, or being prepped for demolition or scrapping or something.
Commissioner Duncan, I'm not at liberty to say yes or no because I don't know. As far as I understand, the applicant stated on record at HE that they will bring in the vehicles and then through their course of dismantling and removing fluids and storing it on site or removing it off site on as needed basis, they will address all the state and local agency requirements.
Sure.
Any other questions? No? Any discussion?
I think this is appropriate with the conditions listed. Panhandle Health does a really good job. They've had 100% compliance over several years, and I think they're going to do due diligence here as well.
Bill?
I agree. I don't see any problem.
Okay then. Motion.
I move that we approve case number CUP 21-0001, Stanley Pope to remedy an active code violation.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Duncan.
Aye.
Chairman Philios.
Aye, and the motion is carried. I just want to add that it is in fact an automobile wrecking yard and junkyard. Okay. Motion is carried. Case number CUP 21-0001 is hereby approved. Thank you. Okay. That,
Thank you, Commissioners.
thank you, Vlad. So that concludes the deliberation segment of our meeting this morning. Moving on to the business segment. Community development update, comprehensive plan policies that require the involvement of departments other than community development for general discussion. Director Callahan, please.
Good morning, Commissioners. The Planning Commission asked me to have this dialogue with you because they want to make sure we're of a same mind, you and them. I can paint the picture quickly. There are two cases in the updated comprehensive plan, cases of policy, I mean, that speak to other departments besides mine. One would be the, where it talks about under public services and facilities that we should work with different county departments to identify future county service and facility needs and promote the acquisition of properties to meet these needs. This is the sort of policy you see in virtually every municipality's comp plan, because you want there to be the ability for departments to work with each other. So my read of this is that, for instance, if the sheriff's department or any of our other departments needed a new substation or some new facility, we would help them find a place, locate, that sort of thing. This sets out in policy that we should do that. So to me, this is kind of a no-brainer. This is one of the two examples, but I'll stop there in case you have questions.
I suppose my only concern is that the board is already embarked on that in a long-range plan, so I would hate to come to an adversarial thing where the people hired by the board have said, okay, we've identified some options, and then the planning commission comes and says, well, we've identified some options, and...
They don't have that authority.
Okay,
This just says, work with different county departments. I mean, this is the county's adopted plan.
Sure.
So what this really says is that you can do what you just said,
okay,
and the planning commission has to get over it.
okay.
Oh. Okay.
That's my view of it. And if you think otherwise, tell me so. But again, these policies are, like every municipality's policies, are broadly written to do what you just described. The only other, for instance, that comes up is a little more to the point. It has to do with our Parks and Waterways Department, where the goal is to maintain existing public recreation sites and acquire development of parks, parkways, trailways, et cetera. I won't bore you with the detail. But the policies are work with the Parks and Waterways Department to inventory and map current county-owned recreation areas, locations, sizes, purposes, types, and levels of service, public usage, and other qualities. That's, again, a common apple pie,
Sure.
motherhood sort
Okay.
of policy. When this was being developed, I asked Nick to sit in. He didn't have time. So it ended up being this very generic. The next one is also generic statement saying, in this case, create and maintain an active long-term parks and recreation plan to acquire, improve, develop and maintain county recreation facilities. Again, very generic. To me, what this means is that if you had the budget and if Nick had the time and staff, these would be the kinds of things that would be helpful.
Okay.
Put it into a comp plan for that very reason.
Okay.
It doesn't mean the plan commission has to do anything,
Gotcha.
in my
Okay.
view.
Okay.
Do you agree?
Yes?
Okay.
Yep.
That's really all this is about.
So
Okay.
what did they want? They wanted to know if they had to do
I just
anything?
want to make sure that we've had this conversation and that we're all on the same.
Sure. Now, would they come before us and say, this is what we want to do? We want to embark on a parks master plan, and then we would say yes or no?
They could, but I would tell them, don't waste your breath, because I've already talked to Nick, and there's no budget for this.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And normally, the planning commission would agree,
Okay.
unless they hear that from us.
Okay.
So that's all it
All right.
is. This is really just informational, just want to make sure we're communicating.
Well, they can thank you for bringing it forward.
Sometimes I'm just the messenger.
That's okay. Anything else?
No, sir.
Public comment? Hearing none. Time is now 9:43 and the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.